Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today. We are going to put on our detective hats and embark on a pretty fascinating investigation. Today, we're decoding the invisible. We are going to uncover the unseen operating systems that quietly dictate literally everything that happens in our workplaces.
So I want you to really think about this for a second. Ever wonder what actually drives your workplace? Like, why is it that you can walk into one company and the atmosphere feels incredibly vibrant, collaborative, just completely alive? But then you walk into another organization, maybe even in the exact same industry, and it just feels totally soul-crushing. The desks look the same, the software is the same, but the day-to-day reality of working there is completely different. Well, there's a powerful, invisible force responsible for that difference. And that invisible force actually has a name: organizational culture. By definition, it's a system of shared meaning held by members that distinguishes the organization from other organizations. So the crucial point here is that this shared meaning is exactly what separates one company's DNA from another. It's not just some corporate buzzword. It's the unique aggregate of behaviors, norms, and rules that capture the very essence of a company.
All right, here is our roadmap for today. First, we're going to look at projecting culture. Then, unpacking the cultural web, Charles Handy's 4 cultures, Deal and Kennedy's matrix, and finally, changing the corporate culture. Okay, let's jump right into section 1, projecting culture, the slogans we share.
While culture itself is this largely invisible set of norms, organizations actively try to project it. Take a look at some of these famous corporate slogans. A catchy slogan isn't just a clever marketing gimmick, it's a visible artifact. When Ford says quality is job one, or Allstate says you're in good hands, they are communicating a deep underlying message. They're signaling their core values, whether that's precision or people orientation, to both customers on the outside and their own employees on the inside. It basically sets the expectation for how everyone should behave.
But slogans are really just the tip of the iceberg, which brings us to section 2, unpacking the cultural web.
To truly understand what's happening inside a company, we need a diagnostic tool. The cultural web acts as our magnifying glass, brilliantly breaking down all the tangible things that make up the intangible culture. It includes the stories people tell by the water cooler. Who the company immortalizes says a great deal about what it actually values. It includes routines and rituals, which signal daily acceptable behavior. Then you have symbols, everything from corporate logos to whether there's an informal dress code, or who gets the plush corner offices. We also have to look at the control systems, meaning how quality and rewards are measured. And crucially, it includes power structures, those pockets of real influence, and the organizational structure, which outlines both the formal org chart and the unwritten lines indicating whose contributions actually matter most. Together, all these elements weave together to form what's called the paradigm, the taken-for-granted assumptions about the organization. So, once we've spotted all those elements, how do we categorize them? Let's shift to section 3, Charles Handy's 4 cultures. Okay, let's dive right into this. I actually want you to mentally sort your current, or maybe a past employer, into one of these 4 distinct buckets as we go. First is the power culture, where an owner or entrepreneur acts with complete, centralized authority. You'll often find this in smaller or founder-led businesses. Next up is the role culture. This one is highly bureaucratic, relying heavily on functional specialization, rules, and stability. Then we have the task culture, which is highly work and project-focused, just pulling teams together to get a specific job done, whatever it takes. And finally, the person culture. This is where personal goals, satisfaction, and interests drive behavior. You typically see this where people's individual goals come first, like groups of barristers, architects, or doctors sharing an office space. Now, if Charles Handy is all about structure and power, our next framework takes a totally different angle. Section 4, Deal and Kennedy's matrix. This model measures culture purely based on 2 very specific things: how a company handles risk and how fast it learns from its actions. Let's map this out. On the vertical axis, we have feedback and reward speed. Basically, how fast does the company find out if its strategies actually worked? And on the horizontal axis, we have the risk level of the company's main activities. Intersecting these 2 axes creates 4 totally distinct workplace environments. Let's break them down. On one side, we have the dynamic, super energetic, work hard, play hard culture. This is an environment of low risk but lightning fast feedback. It's intensely customer focused, concentrating way more on volume than perfect quality, and it heavily rewards that volume. Think of fast moving software companies, high energy sales teams, or retail stores. It moves incredibly fast. But then we contrast that with the bet your company culture.
Here, the risk is absolutely massive, but the feedback is incredibly slow. The focus is entirely on the long-term future. Decisions are huge, high stakes, and top-down because the consequences are literally monumental. A great example of this, a pharmaceutical company spending billions with a B on a new drug, or an aircraft manufacturer building a new plane. You don't even know if you've succeeded for years. Now, let's look at the other extremes. The tough guy macho culture operates in a completely different universe. It's high risk and quick feedback. The stakes are huge, the focus is right now, and honestly, it leads to high internal competition, conflict, and massive staff turnover. We're talking about police departments or the fast-paced entertainment industry. And this brilliantly illustrates just how different things can be, because compare that intense environment to the highly secure, detail-obsessed process culture. Here, risk is low and feedback is incredibly slow. It creates this overarching cover-your-back mentality, where people focus intensely on minor details, formalities, and technical perfection to secure both the past and the future. This is your classic culture of banks and large government organizations. So, what on earth happens when a culture becomes completely dysfunctional? When a company is stuck in an unproductive paradigm, how do they fix it? This brings us to Section 5, Changing the Corporate Culture. 3 to 8. I really want you to let that sink in for a second. Research suggests that it takes 3 to 8 excruciating years to turn around the culture of a large, well-established organization. It is definitely not a quick fix. You are literally rewriting the DNA of thousands of people's daily routines. But hey, it is possible to change direction. Think of this as your tactical playbook. While it takes years, pulling these specific levers in a highly coordinated sequence can successfully steer a company. You start by promoting a new corporate mission through fresh slogans and mottos to project the new intent. You absolutely must establish strong leadership to champion that change. Then you overhaul the reward systems because, let's face it, people will do what they are incentivized to do. You redesign the recruitment and selection process to bring in people who actually fit the new paradigm. You implement targeted training to teach the new required behaviors. And finally, you introduce new visible emblems of the culture, brand new symbols to replace the old ones. So let me leave you with this thought. If you applied these frameworks today, if you looked through the cultural web, sorted your company via Charles Handy, and mapped it on Diehl and Kennedy's matrix, what unseen forces would you discover running your own workplace? Are you in a system that empowers you, or one that is due for a 3 to 8 year turnaround? Take a look around your office tomorrow. The invisible is just waiting to be seen. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you next time.